Hi, this is Marcel of Marcel on Tech, and I apologize for my absence. I have been away for about a month. I've been doing my main day job, which is that of a physical therapist, and I haven't been posting any videos, but I kind of felt like I needed to take a little bit of a break. But now we're back in it because I wanted to do something totally different that I haven't done in a long time, and that is make a switch. I've been using Samsung devices, Xiaomi devices, OnePlus, Nothing devices, and they're all running on Android. But what I haven't done is I haven't gone back to Apple and iOS for ages. And I just thought to myself, it's actually been 8 years since I was actually using iOS. And so that is a very long time. And I thought, what is everyone banging on about that use it? So my brother's a big fan, my daughter's a big fan. And I know that it's been very, very good in the past, but I wanted to find out, is it worth making the switch? So join me for the ride and let me explain to you what I feel is join me in trying to figure out whether or not it's worth making the switch over to iOS and Apple. Let's get into it. So we're back in the room, and this is the device I was testing. This is the Apple iPhone 13 Pro. Now, I didn't want to go for the most expensive 14 Pro, although I did want to test that out. The prices at the moment are still absolutely ridiculous, but the previous gen, the 13 and the 14, the differences are not that massive. I did quite a lot of research. There's not a huge difference in the way that they function, and even the camera quality isn't even that different either. So it was a fine choice between dropping a lot of money, a bunch of coin, or trying out the phone that's almost exactly the same, but not actually dropping quite so much. So again, I managed to get this from one of my favorite refurbished websites. It's almost in perfect condition. I don't think I'm going to be keeping it, and I'm going to explain to you why. Okay, so I'm just going to go through a very simple pros and cons list, and hopefully you'll be able to understand and make a decision for yourself as to whether you want to actually consider switching over to iOS or whether you're happy to stay with the likes of Samsung and Android itself, okay? So let me get into the pros first of all right? So it's very familiar. I haven't used this software for 8 years, as I said, and when I come back to this, I know exactly what I'm doing. It is very, very familiar. So if you've ever used it before, it's going to be easy to switch back to. Now, that's both a pro and a con for me because it's a little bit boring, but we'll get back to the cons. But that is something that familiarity-wise makes you feel confident, because if you've ever used it in the past, then it's not going to be a problem in the slightest. The thing is, the Bionic chip inside this is fast, okay? Everything is super snappy. It is really, really good. One of the things that I like the most about this is the biometrics. So the facial recognition technology, when you are obviously not facing you, it's scanning to look for you or your face. It won't see it, so it won't unlock. But as soon as it turns towards me, it unlocks instantly. And it is very quick, very reliable, and it works at night, which is brilliant because it doesn't have to light up my whole face in order to use that technology, because it's not using the camera, it's actually using the infrared scanner. And that works seamlessly every time and is very, very quick. It's also very good for security measures, such as getting into banking apps or even locking certain apps like messaging apps and so on if you want to. Very, very effective. I haven't had any security issues with putting a picture in front of it or anything like that in order to break into it. So it's been very reliable and very quick. So that is a huge pro for me. That's a big one, along with the last pro, which is my very favorite. So stick around for that one. It's very simple to use. Obviously, you've got tiles on the front here. It doesn't get much simpler than that. You have tiles with information on here, and obviously you tap each app to go into it. It really is incredibly simple to use. The dock that they now have here, I barely touch it unless I can't find an app that I'm looking for on my home screen. So that is quite useful. But again, I don't think it's particularly aggregated very well. But you know, the most powerful function really is going to be the pull down to search or tapping the search button there. But I always find myself going too far over to the left and then pulling up this menu, which really doesn't do anything for me. One of the major problems I have with it is what I'm going to talk about very soon. The wallpapers are a big upgrade. So iOS hasn't been able to update wallpapers in a very, very long time. So you press and hold and you can customize, or I have to unlock it. You can customize your wallpapers to your heart's content. And actually, This is the most complicated system I've actually seen in iOS. So I don't think most people would actually know how to use it. But it is really, really cool. I love this Earth one. It actually tells you exactly where my geolocation is, roughly. And it mimics and shows me a live image of the sky. So obviously it's clear blue skies where I am in southern Spain, and I can see that from this as well. So it's very, very cool in that regard. And of course you can have photos or of anyone that you particularly like, or you can have a blank canvas. You can create any sort of canvas that you might want. So it is very cool, but is it enough to buy a phone? Now, the one thing that I do love about this device is the camera. The cameras, both stills and video, is just next level. The only thing I would say that competes with this are the likes of Samsung S23 Ultra. That is kind of on par with this, and I loved playing with that device, and the camera, the photos I got from that, the videos I got from that were just unbelievable. But this is older than that, and this is absolutely knocking it out the park. I love taking photos with this because I know I'm going to get something good. Videos are good. Live photos are very usable. I find live photos on Android are not very usable at all. I barely use them with iOS. I find that when I have a live photo, I can actually manipulate it or play with it or make it bounce, or ways that are much more entertaining or joyful rather than just gimmicky and not particularly useful. But stills images are very crispy. One thing that annoys me quite a lot is that whenever I go straight into the camera, it always defaults to 4:3, and I don't know why it does that. Unless I'm missing something particular, I always have to switch over to 6:9, which is how I prefer to take a photo, but then it switches over to the wide angle lens, I noticed. So 4:3 is the default, and it seems to stay like that. Maybe I'm making a mistake. If I am, put a comment below, but I haven't been able to find that adjustment in the settings myself. But the images that you get are very good, and there's lots you can do with it, including the remove background feature as well. And again, if you want more information about that, put it in the comments below, but it is very cool doing the remove background. Again, lots of fun to be had with that as well. So those are my pros. Really, it is the wallpapers, the familiarity, the functionality is very simple, the camera is excellent, and I really enjoy doing it. Now for the con. The widgets on here, and if you don't know what a widget is basically something that you can access information quickly from. So it's like an active tile that shows you, let's say, your next calendar appointments or the next 5 or 6 calendar appointments. It's pretty useless on here. I can't scroll through it. It's not an active tile. I can't move inside of the widget. I have to then tap on it to go into the app, which renders it pointless. I may as well just go into the app in that case. So the tiles on here, or the widgets on here, are okay, and that's what I refer to the far left on the screen here. These are okay, but not that great. Not very, very useful. Obviously, if I want to have a look at my photo gallery, I can see some snippets of it as a widget here. But if I wanted to do that, I just go into my photo gallery. So these are a weakness. I know that Apple were proud of these when they came out. They don't compete in the slightest, particularly with Samsung. Samsung, I feel, do the best widgets, and they're incredibly functional and very, very useful. The software, it's had an update for sure, and it's fluid and it moves well, but it's just boring. It's just really, really boring. There's nothing really that I can do with it. Folders are very dull. It's just not in the way interesting. The swiping, I always type to the left, which is a bit of a reflex, and then I get stuck here in this search, and it's driving me bonkers when I just want to look for something. But the search, where they really want you to use the search ability that is iconed here at the bottom of every screen, because they really want you to use that search, because you've just got windows and windows of apps, unless you've deleted them all off and just left them inside of this dock here, which is overflowing with apps, and not particularly, or what they call the app library, which is not really particularly well organized. It's just, like I say, a little bit clunky, but what I have been impressed with so far is the battery life. And because it's got wireless built in and the somewhat fast charging via the lightning cable, I've actually been very impressed with the battery life. Now, this isn't the Max. I understand that the iPhone Max, Pro Max, has got even better battery life. I've been very impressed with this. I can sometimes end my day with 40%, and that's after a busy day. Photos, editing, YouTube, all those types of things. and it's still got about 40% battery life, which is fantastic. And because I have wireless chargers in different areas, it just sits on the dock and charges very, very easily for me as well. So that is really, really cool. I'm a big fan of that, and I'm very pleased that it has that functionality. So battery life is one of the benefits. So in conclusion, get it for the reliability and the camera. Don't get it if you are interested in any sort of variation in software, being able to tweak or make it particularly interesting. You can modify the wallpapers, which is probably the biggest modification aspect that you can do to iOS. I think they had to do that because everyone was so bored of the software, which makes it somewhat more unique. But everything inside of the phone, once you start inside moving through the apps, is just boring and very familiar. So for some people, that's comforting and that's a good thing. For me, it gets a little bit dull, it gets a little bit stale. But the cameras for me really are what make this device invaluable. The camera software integration, the camera app is absolutely brilliant. So for that reason alone, if you can get one of the newer ones, a 13 Pro and upwards, because I've got the 12 Pro as well, and that one doesn't have all the features like cinematic mode and so on, this really is next level stuff. And the things you can do with it, the images you can get, and the editing you can do make it massively worthwhile. So I would definitely recommend this device, but I would also recommend that you try and go for a 13 or 13 Pro and above, because it's just going to provide you with the best imagery that you can possibly imagine. Now, I've got this in a hard shell because, again, it's got that familiar build, which is a heavy, a heavy metal case, and it looks super duper cool. I have to say, it is a very cool looking color and design. I do like the design of this blue iPhone 13 Pro, and with the metal rim as well, but I am a little nervous about dropping it because it's quite weighty, but it is also very grippy with the sharp edges there as well. So it is a cool phone, but there are limitations, I would feel. And because of the price point, that's why I would recommend this one, because paying 1,400 euros and more for the 14 is crazy money. And if you can get this one for 800 or less, this is the 128 gigabyte version, and this is the Pro, obviously, not the Pro Max. So it doesn't have the very, very top end, but it is absolutely excellent. So this is an A grade device that I would highly recommend, particularly if you enjoy taking photos and video and or manipulating them, because then it makes it worth it. But get it for that good price, and don't forget to use the links I use down below for the refurbished sites as well. Most of them are non-affiliated, so I don't get any benefit from it, but it would really benefit you, and it benefits the world as well, because it's recycled and you won't be asking the company to produce another device. So consider that. I hope you got some value from that. I really appreciate you watching. Please put your comments below. Let me know what you think. Let me know of the new format as well, and let me know if there's any particular device you want me to review as well. Until the next time, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Peace out.